Hey, it's Adam, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at my experience with the Moto 360 second generation smartwatch. So, before we get into my experience over the last week with this watch, let's take a look at the specs. So this smartwatch is rocking Gorilla Glass 3 and has a backlit LCD screen like it had on the first generation Moto 360. The processor is a Qualcomm Snapdragon 400, and the battery is a 300 mAh battery which claims to get up to 1.5 days of battery with mixed usage with ambient mode off, and up to a full day with ambient mode on. The memory on this smartwatch is 4GB internal storage with 513 MB of RAM. And of course the smartwatch has connections with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth with microphone capabilities, but no camera. So before I move on to whether I think it's worth getting a smartwatch or not, I'm going to go over what I liked and didn't like about the Moto 360 second generation watch. I've got to say there's not much I didn't like about the watch. It's very customizable, it's built well, and there's many apps you can get with it. One of the main things that I loved about this watch was the Find Your Phone app, because everyone has those moments where you lose your phone and you're asking a family member or a friend to phone it because you don't know where it is. Whereas with this app you can just pick up your watch, press the Find Your Phone app, and it will find your phone for you. And of course the other main advantage to having a smartwatch is the fact that you don't have to keep getting out your phone to check your notifications. You can just lift up your wrist and swipe the notification away without getting your phone out and putting it back constantly. Other apps that I thought were very effective included Google Search for weather, because it got all the information you needed for up to, I think it was 5 days. Google Search in general was amazing. I mean, you could search for things that gives you pretty much the basic information you'd get from Wikipedia and the usual Google search page. And if that isn't enough, you can click open on your phone on the smartwatch and it will bring up the app on your phone. And finally, I think Google Maps is very effective on the watch, because rather than having your phone out wandering around trying to find where you're going, you can get your smartwatch up and be following that instead. And of course another big point for me was the fact that you can track your health and your steps, because it's a lot easier than getting out your phone and checking it all the time. Just like with the notifications, you can at a glance just look at your watch and it'll tell you how many steps you're doing or calories depending on how you set up your own watch. And in the department of customizing your watch, there are many things like you can do, such as changing your background, even having a custom background, changing your watch straps, and even changing the colour of your screen when it's charging. Also, I was surprised to find that there was a few apps you could get on the Google App Store for your smartwatch, such as games and other apps just to make your experience with your watch that much better. For example, you could be on the train or a passenger in a car playing simple games on your smartwatch, or even in class playing a game, but I probably wouldn't recommend you doing that. And lastly, I know it's not a major thing, but I think the wireless dock is amazing for charging this. It looks great on any desk setup, it's easy to use, you just throw it on, and just as an added bonus, like I said, you can change the colour of the screen when you're charging your smartwatch, and it also displays the time and the battery when you have it left there. So now moving on to the things that I didn't like about this watch. I've got to be honest, there isn't many I didn't like, and to start it off, the only major thing that I didn't like is that sometimes the screen wouldn't respond right away when I'm tapping it, and it would have a slight lag time when I'm trying to use it, but honestly it wasn't a major thing. It would respond after the first or second tap anyway. For me that wasn't a big problem. I haven't played around with settings yet, but the brightness boost didn't always stay on. That might be something I'm doing wrong, but if not, that is quite annoying because you're obviously wanting the brightness boost for a brightness boost. And like I said earlier about using Google, and you can click open on your phone with many of the apps on your smartwatch, although that is great, I also think it's not always going to be a great thing, because if you're having to get your phone out anyway, you may as well just be using your phone. But having said that, it still is an added feature that does make using your watch with your phone that much easier. And although surprisingly there are quite a few apps on the Google App Store, there's not loads out there, at least not compared to what you can get on your phone, but I would just like to see a few more games or apps. So, should you get a smartwatch? For me personally, I wanted a good watch anyway, and I love technology, so the good compromise for me was to get a smartwatch, and I did always want a Moto 360, so those are great reasons why I wanted one in the first place. Another big point for getting one is you need to know that you're going to be using it and always wear it. Whereas if you say you have a job where you can't really wear it, there's not really much point. If you're not wearing it 90% of the time, there's not really much point in having one. And of course, a big thing is the fact that you can track your fitness and your health. I know it's not overly as in depth compared to something you can get on your phone, but to have something with you that you can just easily check, it is a great thing to have. And of course, something you could say I missed out about the things I liked was the media controls. That is a big selling point, because if you have Bluetooth earphones or you're watching something on your smart TV and your controller's not next to you, you could easily just pick up your smartwatch and pause it, change the song, lower the volume, higher the volume, etc. And moving over to the cons, I mean, it is a lot of money for what it is, and when I say that, I mean they don't do an awful lot compared to something like a phone. So for the money you could be getting something that does a lot more. I mean, of course this may sound stupid, but if you were only buying it to be a watch and just to check the time, it's a bit pointless spending that much money when you're only checking it for the time. And of course, like I mentioned, don't buy it if you want it for the apps and to look cool to have loads of apps on your watch, because at the moment, at least at the moment, there aren't actually that many. So to conclude, I'd say don't buy a smartwatch if you're not bothered about having a smartwatch and it's more just for checking the time, and you aren't actually that bothered about taking out your phone constantly to check for notifications. But if you have the money and think the features would be useful to you, such as the fitness and media controls, then get one. With all this in mind, I personally would recommend the Moto 360 second generation watch. So thanks for watching. That is my almost like review on the Moto 360 second generation watch after a week of having it, and also showing you how I weighed up my pros and cons, whether I should get one or not. Thanks for watching.